Welcome back to Spiro Avenue. It is still a weird world we're living in. There's no intro today. We're going to get right into the meat and potatoes of this show. The pride of Duncanville, Texas, Matt McQuaid joining us in studio. Matt McQuaid, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
It's good to have you. Welcome home again. It's crazy to see you back in Michigan. We're in weird times. I know you had a big signing today. What's going on? What brings you back home to Michigan?
I've been back for a while now, and kind of want to get back and see some familiar faces. My season actually, I got home in March. Then my season in Germany restarted in May, so I had to go back. And I was in Dallas during that downtime. Then when I got back, I got back in late June, and just want to see some friends and my girlfriend, and just been here ever since, really.
One of the most beloved imports from the state of Texas in this state is Matt McQuaid. I think you had probably the earliest coming out party in the history of the Tom Izzo era, where you were on campus for like 5 seconds and you were extremely popular. Not an unheralded recruit, but not a top 10 5-star bona fide either. And you just were dropping bombs against Kansas in the second game of the year, your freshman year. Like, was that a whirlwind for you? You're on campus, it's your second game, you're in the United Center in the Champions Classic playing a top 5 Kansas team, and you're out there in the late second half taking the big shots. Like, what was that like for you?
That was crazy. First big game as a freshman, I'm nervous. I think my first possession, I airmailed a layup off the backboard, just nervous. And, coach is just like, you look like a deer in headlights. And I'm like, man. So, and I come down and I hit a three to end in the first half, and that kind of got me going. And then Zell, he was like, I just heard him when I pump faked and took a dribble and shot a three, he's like, shoot it. And that kind of gave me the confidence to take that shot. And then the big one in the corner, I just kind of caught it from Costello. It was a terrible pass from Costello, but got it, just put it in the air, and it was money. And it was just a great feeling. And, people forget Zell had a triple-double that game, and it was just it was a great night to be a Spartan on that night.
Yeah, you kind of stole the show early. I laugh at the deer in headlights thing because I remember watching that game live. I just moved back home after finishing law school in Chicago. And so I was sitting on the floor with my TV on the ground. It looked like Bin Laden's compound at my house here, watching that game. And the announcers were saying, oh, the freshman doesn't look ready to play. Like that, they were kind of saying the same thing. It's like, this moment might be a little too big for him. And then 8 minutes later, you're just winning the game for Michigan State. And that was such a crazy time. And I mean, you talked about Izzo kind of getting in your face about deer in headlights right away. It's your second game. There's a lot people say about Tom Izzo, especially outside of the program. He came under fire for how he spoke to Aaron Henry, about 2 years ago during the tournament. What's your take on him? Obviously, most guys seem to like him. What was it like playing for Tom Izzo?
I loved it. He's a very passionate coach, and he shows it. He wears his emotions on his sleeve, and I feel like us as players, we fed off of it. You want to see that caring emotion, and he shows it all the time. And it was great to play for, just because it brings an intensity, and it just amps up. You can feel it in certain games sometimes, like in a Michigan game or a big Champions Classic game. You can feel how amplified it is just from the way he's talking and from that energy. Not to say we don't treat every game the same, because we definitely did, but there's just a certain energy with his emotions and the way he just amps up everything.
There were some guys, in the history of the program that really did not do well with that. We saw before your time, Garrett Sherman, Chris Allen were both pretty open about not feeling they were a good fit with the program. Did you ever feel at any point in 4 years like, I can't take this guy anymore, even though you love him now, big picture, you love him? Were there ever moments where you were just like, you know what, F you, Tom, screw you?
It's definitely an adjustment. You're coming in a high school kid, and you're not used to somebody just holding you accountable 24/7 on and off the court. It's definitely a big adjustment. And he'll let you know when you're not doing something right. And for me, I loved it. It made me a better person, on and off, and just helped me create better habits, basketball wise. I was a gym rat before, but it really showed me, quality over quantity, and just it really just helped me get to where I'm at.
I think your big leap, because you came in as a shooter. Everybody knew you were a great shooter, that you had balls. You weren't going to shrink from the moment. That was your first day on campus. You didn't need Tom Izzo for that. What was incredible to me is the big leap and strides you made defensively, where you went from an adequate defender as a freshman, as most are at best, to one of the best defenders in the country, I would argue. I mean, how much of that was just Tom Izzo drilling you over and over again? I mean, I'm sure, feel free to take a little bit of credit for that, but how much you credit Izzo for that development?
I credit him a lot. I also got to give a lot of credit to Coach Fife. He really took me under his wing. He played at Indiana, was a great defender, and he showed me a lot throughout my 4 years, and I really bought into what he was telling me early, and it really helped me out a lot, become a better defender. And we had a lot of great players at Michigan State. You always got all McDonald's All-Americans, and I'm not the most athletic guy, so I'm trying to find ways to get extra minutes on the court, and one thing was defense. That's a great way, and I really just put an emphasis on my defense throughout my college career.
So, moving forward, just big picture rivalry with the University of Michigan. I've spoken to a lot of former MSU athletes, some current, in the moment. There's sort of a spectrum of answers, but it's all some variation of the same, that you guys hate Michigan. You don't like Michigan. It's not hidden that you dislike Michigan. I mean, take me into that rivalry from Matt McQuaid's eyes. You're in there battling. Did you have a hatred for Michigan? Is it something you guys talked about going into the game, or was it just another game to you?
No, that game's definitely amped up. I'm coming from Texas, so I didn't know much about it. Like, I knew it was a rivalry, but I'm like, oh, Texas, Oklahoma, like Red River. Man, we definitely don't like each other. It's amped up. Michigan week. We got our. We're breaking out. We're like, we don't like Michigan. Just talking all week, just amping each other up. We're doing slides with towels. I think my freshman year, we're doing them with like towels behind our back. There's definitely a different intensity for that Michigan game.
So the best Michigan game for you, and I think for a lot of Michigan State fans from your entire 4-year period there, was the Big Ten championship game, your senior season. I believe your best friend on the team, one of them certainly Kyle Arns, right? Goes down, catastrophic injury, just horrible. He's on crutches almost immediately. Comes out like Willis Reed minus the whole playing part. You end up going off. You get Michigan State off the mat. As far as I'm concerned, obviously, I know you're going to be PC. You're going to say everyone contributed. That is your conference title as far as I'm concerned. In the same way that I look at the 2010 Final Four banner and say that's Corey Lucius's banner because he hit that shot against Maryland, that conference title banner is Matt McQuaid's. Take me to that game. What are you thinking when your buddy goes down? What was that whole scenario like for you?
Yeah. When Kyle went down, that's my guy. That's he's been my roommate since freshman year. North Wonder, shout out. All 4 years we've been rooming together, and he's been through so much and different injuries, and he helped me through my injury. He's just a great guy, and to see that happen to him was just it was very hard to watch, and just seeing him on the ground crying, and we all walked over and we gave him a hug, and I was like, I got you, we're gonna win this. And they had Michigan had a lot of momentum at that time, and I felt like, when we got in our huddle after Kyle got taken off the floor, everybody just kind of like, all right, let's go, let's go get this. So, we ended up the next play. I think after he goes down, I come down. I think Coach actually drew up a play for me, come off a pin down, and I hit the three. And then at that time, I started clapping my hands. I was like, all right, let's go get this.
One of my good friends is Chris Castellani. He's a giant Michigan fan, diehard Michigan fan. And you are on Cameo, and I paid you to do a cameo to send to Chris saying that you heard he was a huge Michigan State fan and that you were happy to help him out on that great Final Four run. So I think you are one of the most hated players by the fan base of your rival, which is, one of the best compliments you can get. So I think it's hilarious how your name is cursed by so many of them after that game. And that was probably, I'd have to think about it, probably the most rewarding game other than Duke of that entire season, which was a great year. But that was just so awesome. You are forever in my heart for ripping their heart out. So thanks for that.
You're welcome.
Just talk about a little bit the game against Duke. Duke has tormented me, has tormented my brother. We've had a lot of long nights texting about it, about how much we hate them. I actually am in grad school right now at the University of North Carolina, so I especially hate Duke. You guys are going in there as underdogs. clear underdogs as much as you can be as a 2 seed. It was considered egregious that you were a 2 seed and how unfair it was that you were going to have to face Duke. Talk about going into that game. What are you thinking? What's the prep like for that game? It's a quick turnaround from the Sweet 16 to the Elite Eight.
I remember coming back after the LSU game, and we were watching film, and we were, like you said, we had the underdog mentality. We got nothing to lose, and we were just kind of like, all right, we can get this. Like, we have a good game plan. Like, coach is giving us a scouting report on everything, and we're feeling pretty confident about it. We know we're going up against first pick of the NBA draft and Zion, and then RJ Barrett too, I think he was third. So they got 3 lottery picks. So we knew we were gonna have our hands full, and so like we go into the game, but we're not scared. We're not fearful or anything. We're going out there. We're trying to win the game in advance. And like you said, we had that underdog mentality. I think they had more pressure. They knew the pressure was on them more than us. And we had a lot of veterans on that team too, and me and Kenny and Cassius, and I would say X was even a veteran, even though he was a sophomore. And even the guys on our scout team that were like helping us the practices before, like Connor George, Jack Hoiberg, they did a great job. And Kyle's on the bench helping coach. Everybody was contributing, and just it was a real group effort. And it was like you said, we just had nothing to lose, and we just went out there and played like it.
What was the Duke team like on the floor? I mean, what's Zion Williamson like playing against? Is he out there talking? Is he just a freak up close?
Yeah.
I mean, what's it like out there against Zion Williamson?
I've never played anything like him, man. Like, it was
he's a cyborg. I mean,
he gets off the ground so fast, and he's so strong and just big. He was a beast. He gets he's earned everything he gets, and a lot of props to him. He's a really great player. You see him in the NBA doing what he does. He's like one of the most efficient players. I remember one time I was trying to box him out for rebound, and he just threw me, and I was like, dang.
Yeah, and he's throwing bigger guys than you.
Yeah,
I mean,
this dude is ridiculous.
He's just and it's funny because by his own admission, he's incredibly out of shape. I mean, he's basically said that I'm out of shape, and he's just so springy that it doesn't matter. I mean, God forbid that guy gets in shape. Look out, NBA. But I was just fascinated watching him and watching that team against you guys, because obviously their core 3. There wasn't one lottery picked for you guys, on that 4, and you're going against the 1, the 3, and the 7 or whatever it was. It was just one of the more incredible wins, especially given the history of Duke, and they have been one of the few programs that have just tormented Michigan State. And to win not just a big game against Duke, but against the most heralded Duke team maybe ever. I mean, certainly in the last 15 years or so, was just so rewarding. You get to the next game against Texas Tech, who I think was a better team than Duke, actually. I'll get your opinion on that in a second. But going into that game, the fear was they punch everybody in the mouth. They defend, they get up in your face. You're in this, giant stadium. It's already tough to shoot by all counts. What happened in the Texas Tech game? You come out, you drill a 3 early, starting to feel pretty good at the beginning. And then it starts to unravel. You guys make it close in the end, but what was your experience on the floor in that game?
Yeah, like you said, that depth perception, the half-court shot, like when we first went out there, it felt like it looks like a free throw because it goes back and there's just 93,000 people in there, and it's crazy. But Texas Tech, yeah, they're a very, very good defensive team, and they had a lot of veterans, and they had a first-round pick in Jarrett Culver. They had a really good team. And, I remember, I think Aaron Henry got 2 or 3 fouls in the first half, and that kind of hurt. And just from a defensive standpoint, putting the young guys in that situation, that's really tough. We ended up having to do that with Gabe, who did the best job he could. And we just I feel like we kind of got tired, and we were running out of gas in the wings, but we also just they did a great job, man. They were rebound. I think they out-rebounded us a lot. They kept us out the paint. They did a good job on Cassius. But, it was tough. But, yeah, some stuff didn't go our way, and, it's like that sometimes. And,
Henry had that great, cut to the basket, cuts it to 1 pretty late. I mean, it was you guys were down, 12, it felt like, for 10 minutes, and then it gets all the way down to 1. They come down, hit a big shot, come back the other way, offensive foul on Cassius, which was questionable in that moment. That's a whole other story. But If you play that game 10 times, how often does Michigan State win, in your opinion? You play that same exact game, same stadium 10 times, you guys win at least half, right? I mean, I don't think they were clearly better than you guys.
Yeah, I would say that. I mean, we played them good. You know, I feel like we could have played them a lot better. That's what sucks is that you don't get a second chance. And
it was not your best punch. Like as a team, I felt
exactly,
like you guys kind of played like you didn't play horribly, but you played like a B minus game, and you need your A game against that.
Yeah, as a whole, we did not play our best game.
And I think really that Texas Tech team probably should have won the national title. If anyone that watched the game against Virginia, they had that game about 6 different times, and there was some, and Virginia probably shouldn't have even been there. They got about 6 different bounces before that to even get into that spot. But again, a different story. I want to shift gears a little bit. Everyone's talking now about paying players, not paying players, especially in the light of COVID. What's going on? You're playing at Michigan State for 4 years. You were a contributor from day one. Did you ever feel while you were there like this is BS? I should be getting paid for this, or did you feel like you were amply compensated from the scholarship? Where do you stand on that argument? Because I've heard both from players.
I'm back and forth on it. I feel like maybe just should be getting a little more money, but at the same time, I mean, you're only there a year, I guess. Like Miles Bridges came back for 2 years. Jerrington went for a year, and I don't know. I don't really have a really big opinion on that. I try to stay away from that. It's not really my place.
So, but you don't feel like you were screwed or this, you were cheated out of something from your Michigan State experience, in other words? Because I actually have heard that from other players. Actually, one that went to the University of Michigan that felt that they were robbed, and it was a football player. But you didn't feel cheated by the experience.
I had a great experience, and I have memories that are going to last my whole life. And, I mean, I'm sure, I definitely can see where some players are coming from, that, have like a big fan base and a big Instagram base where they could potentially make a lot of money and just market. I mean, I can see that, but at the same time, from my point of view, it was just great experience, free education, great time, memories, friendship. And I loved it there and wouldn't trade it for the world.
I think one of the more interesting things with Michigan State's program that you see more so than you see at, say Kentucky and certainly other programs as well is that sense of family. It's something Tom Izzo talks about, players talk about. Jaren Jackson has been back several times. Miles Bridges gets back every time he can. Obviously, Draymond Green has made substantial donations to the program. It seems to be the rule, not the exception, that guys feel this attachment. I don't know if you have any insight into this. I interviewed Darrell Summers, who was a senior in 2011, on the show about 2 years ago, and he didn't say anything bad about Michigan State, but he didn't have much good to say either. You look at that senior class, Kalen Lucas and Darrell Summers being the two key components of that. Even now on social media, Michigan State has a big game. Denzel Valentine's on Twitter talking about it. You're talking about it. Bridges talks about Michigan State favorably every chance he gets. And for the most part, Kalen Lucas and Darrell Summers have not said anything after a big Michigan State game, with very few exceptions in the decade since they left. Did you ever see those guys come around when you were there? Do you know what's going on, why they're kind of detached from the program, or is there some bitterness there?
Kalen Lucas, he came around a couple times during the summer. I know I think Watts worked out with him a couple times in Detroit recently, but not really sure on that. But I don't know the whole situation on that. I'm sure. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like I said, Lucas has been around. Didn't seem like there was any bad blood when he was up there. I don't really know Summers, so I can't really say anything.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess I would argue that like you haven't seen Summers. It's speculation. I don't know. I tried to get it out of him, and he was just kind of leaving it alone. So yeah, I was just curious if you had seen him up there, and he's given fist bumps, and I'm just like it's over my head. But that was a weird era for Michigan State where they're coming off 2 Final Fours. They're preseason number 2 going into 2011. They barely make the tournament. They get bounced early. And Lucas and Summers have kind of just faded, and it's a shame because Lucas is one of the best players in history of the program, Big Ten Player of the Year. Have it, not been for a catastrophic injury for himself, probably has a national title on his resume. So I just thought it was interesting, and I guess, if you don't see him, you don't see him. Who was, in your opinion, the best player you ever played with at Michigan State?
Man.
Because you played with some of the best.
Yeah, I get this. I've gotten this so much, man. You
You should be well versed. You should be ready for it then.
Denzel Valentine's almost averaging a triple-double. Then I got Cassius Winston. Then I got Miles Bridges. Gosh, man.
I'm asking for college, I guess, because, I mean, if you're going by an NBA standard, obviously it's TBD because some guys are on the doorstep still that you played with, Tillman and Cash. But, I mean, probably Jaren Jackson in terms of the NBA. It's in terms of the best NBA player. But college, it's got to be between Cassius Winston and Denzel Valentine. That's really kind of what I'm digging into. Like, if you had to pick one, you're starting a team, who you picking between those two?
Man.
And I know you love them both. It's not about denigrating one. They're two of the best 5 ever for this program.
I'm just going to say, Cash, hear me out, man. I'm just going to say Denzel Valentine just because he had rebounds. But Cash had the points and assists. Zell had the assists, points, and rebounds, though. So I'll go with Valentine.
I had to drag it out of you.
That's tough.
I had to pull it out of you. No, but what a good problem to have, though. It's like you're playing with these two generational players.
Great point guards.
Yeah. And, Denzel did win a National Player of the Year. I mean, he was outstanding. So, and another one of those guys that had a huge leap, similar to Draymond Green, where it's like, they started as okay players their freshman year and then just were incredible by the end of their Spartan careers. I think it's interesting. Michigan State, under Tom Izzo, has been one of the best 5 or 6 programs in the country, I would argue. I mean, in terms of conference titles, Final Fours, by almost any metric. There is that missing second national title. I don't think Tom Izzo needs it to validate himself. He's got the one. What more does he have to do? But I do think it would elevate him. There's certainly some value in it. Is that something that you guys ever talked about? Did he ever talk about, or was that more just unspoken? Is that more of a media fan creation?
He talks about a championship every year.
He does.
He talks about championships.
So you guys are openly discussing it.
I mean, he definitely wants another championship with the guy. I mean, he's in the Hall of Fame, He's in the ultimate basketball honor right there. Like, Naismith Hall of Fame. That's, to play for a coach that's in the Hall of Fame, not many people can say that. And, Coach Izzo, he's hungry, man. He's always hungry. He wants another championship. He could win one tomorrow. He'd try and win one.
The scary thing with him is, as good as the history has been with him, the best really could be yet to come. And that's what's frightening for the rest of the country, I would think, because you see the recruiting run they're on. Have you been following this at all?
Oh, it's scary.
You know what's going on in East Lansing right now? You guys, for all your accomplishments, it's like you guys set the bar so high, the bar is going to be that much higher if all these guys make it to campus. I know you don't have any more insight than I do or anybody else. I don't think Imani Bates himself knows whether or not he's ever going to suit up there. But if he does, I mean, this is probably potentially the peak of Michigan State basketball, is it not?
Yeah, with that many 5-stars, that's an exciting time.
It's crazy to think that a guy who, Tom Izzo, approaching 70 years old, has been around forever, has done so much, that the best could still be, in his windshield and not the rearview mirror. I mean, it's just fascinating to me. The health of the program, what sense do you get for Tom Izzo's steam? How much gas does he have left in the tank? The common theory, not based on any evidence, but just based on people's intuition, is his son, Steven Izzo, is going to be a sophomore. He's got 3 years left. He's not going to redshirt or anything. He'll be around. 3 years from now, Tom Izzo retires. I mean, do you have any sense? I know you don't know. Again, I don't think Tom knows. But do you have any sense of what he's got in his future? How much gas is left in the tank there?
I think he'll never stop.
He'll never stop.
I don't think he'll ever stop.
You think he's going to be at Supreme Court? He's going to die on the
one time he
bench?
had hernia surgery, and 2 days later he's in there coaching, man. The guy loves basketball and loves Michigan State.
So you think he's going to last at least through Steven Izzo's 3 years and to see Imani Bates? Because it's like, that's the thing, when Steven Izzo showed up there, the common take was like, okay, we got Tom for at least 4 more years. It was like a sort of a human embodiment of a contract extension where Tom won't retire for 4 years because he wants to at least see his son through. So yeah, it's an exciting time. And I think you had such a good career there, and it's so good to have you back in the state of Michigan. I know you had a signing today. I mean, what is your relationship with Spartan Nation? I mean, do you have the same love for Michigan State that we do for you? That's the question on everyone's mind, I'm sure. What's it like being a Michigan State athlete is what I'm asking.
Great. Spartans are everywhere, man. When I go back to Dallas, I even get a couple Go Greens when I'm out downtown. Not right now because of COVID and everything, but the players always showing love, and they're everywhere. And I love Michigan State. It's always gonna have a special place in my heart. There was even a guy in Germany at one of my games, and he's like, "Go green," and I was like, "Go white." Like, it's crazy. It's a great fan base, and it really is a family fan base, and I love it.
And I want to back up a little bit to your recruitment. You're in Duncanville. I mean, obviously, everyone knows Michigan State basketball to some extent. What was your first time talking to Tom Izzo? He's recruiting you. Who was it? One of the assistants after you initially? Usually that's the case, right? Who was recruiting? One of the assistant coaches recruiting you initially, right?
Coach Stevens and Coach Stevens. Izzo.
So what is your first conversation with Tom Izzo like?
We're calling him Coach Stevens. I always call him DJ.
DJ. Oh, yeah. If you say DJ, no one's going to know what you're talking about,
though. First conversation with Coach Izzo. So I just got back from the LeBron James Skills Academy, and I had just recently decommitted from SMU. And so that was his first time seeing me play. And I think Larry Brown was the coach at SMU when I decommitted. And Larry Brown was sitting by Coach Izzo, and I think he told Coach Izzo, he's like, "Hey, you should recruit this kid. He just decommitted." And I played really good, and Coach Izzo really liked me, and he ended up recruiting me, and they brought me up to my dad's originally from Midland, so I had my grandma lived in Midland, so I came up that summer to visit her, and then I came on an unofficial visit to Michigan State. We played open gym with Costello, Dawson, Valentine, Forbes, those guys, and just really liked it. And then I came for my official like 2 months later, then in September, and then I ended up committing, and that's history.
What's the pitch though? Like what's Tom Izzo saying to you when he's trying to entice you to come? Because it seems like the second you're on campus, it's yelling at you and trying to get you better. What's he trying to say to you to entice you to come? What did he say to you? Why come to Michigan State?
He just tells you. He tells you how he sees it. He wants to get you to where you want to get, and how he's going to get you there. He's honest. He's straight up with you. That's why everybody loves playing for him. And he's emotional. And he just shows a passion that he just cares so much about you, and you just love playing for it, man. It's really hard to describe it. You just love playing.
You are my favorite epidemiologist, Matt. So I'm going to ask you, expert opinion. Your expert medical opinion. Are we playing college basketball this year?
I think we are.
You think we are? What would you do? You're a senior on the team. You want to play ball? Are you sitting out? Are you afraid of COVID as a player if you're a senior at Michigan State right now?
Me personally?
You personally?
If I'm a senior?
Yeah. Are you playing?
I'd probably play.
You're playing. You think they should play? Because what I said last show is none of us know. Nobody knows anything.
I mean, there's not a right answer right now. There's so much uncertainty, but if there was an option to play, I would play. Matt
McQuaid is playing side. That's going to be the headline. Matt McQuaid would play ball, so we're going to blast that out.
Oh,
Matt,
man, you're going to get me in trouble.
I'm not going to get you in trouble. Everyone knows that. Everyone has a layman's opinion, and that's what we've talked about on the show in the past, that on something like this, it's a novel coronavirus. There is no expert on something that's novel.
Right.
There's no expert on something that's new, that's unprecedented. It's actually incompatible with the definition to argue that there would be an expert. So there's experts in the general field of virology and diseases and things of that nature. There's no expert on this one. So I think it's everyone making their best guess and just going from there. I'm not a doctor either. I think you should play ball, but that's just where I stand. As a player, I was curious to get your input. So
I think it'd be a pretty special tournament, though, because, nobody would ever forget this tournament.
No.
You could say, I played in that tournament. I won that. Like, nobody's ever, if they did have NCAA tournament, nobody would ever, forget this.
The thing that was such a bummer there were a number of things, obviously, but having this most recent March Madness end before it began was I thought Michigan State was finally hitting their stride and got the snarl that they didn't have all year. It was a bizarre year beset by tragedy. There were injuries, obviously, to Langford right at the beginning that were just depressing as much as they were upsetting on the floor itself. The biggest, Cassius Winston's brother, tragically dies. It was just a black cloud over that entire season through no fault of their own. And then they're finally starting to come out of that. They look the best they ever did, and then it feels like the rug is pulled out from under them. I don't think they had the snarl that your senior team did for most of the season going into that tournament and then through the Final Four. And they finally discovered it. I mean, am I crazy? I know you follow the team. that team was probably going places, right?
Oh, they were good. They were getting hot.
They were legitimately good.
I watched that Ohio State game on senior night, and I was like, man, they can win this thing. Like, they were clicking.
Did you see when they rallied late in the year? I think it was against Penn State when Tom Izzo's breaking his fingers on his own hand trying to call a timeout, and Winston vetoes him and just ignores him and waves him off, and they go and score, ended up winning the game. And Izzo is screaming at him on the sideline, and Winston gets right in his face and he's just shaking his head. It's like, I never saw that out of Cassius. Maybe you did in practice in prior years, but no one ever saw that side of Cassius Winston. And It's like, this team is finally, they have all the talent, they have the effort, they have the heart, they have the right team chemistry, they love each other, they have a Hall of Fame coach, but they just kind of lack that toughness and snarl that you needed to be a great team. They discovered it, and then like the season just ends. I mean, I think that is considered the great lost season for Michigan State athletics in any sport, where that team, we were cheated out of not just Cassius Winston's senior swan song, but as it turns out, Xavier Tillman's swan song. I mean, it's the worst thing that's ever happened for Michigan State, I would think.
Yeah.
So
rough.
That was the lost season. So there are people that joke that we're going to hang banners for the national champion. Just claim it, like they did in the 1920s. Like if you had a good year, you could just claim the national.
What was that football team? Southern Florida?
It was at UCF.
UCF?
Yeah, it was UCF. Yeah, just claiming the national title. So I think we should do that. I think we should just hang a banner 2020 COVID champions. But so anyway, I think that was a shame, and that's, it's just something that we'll never know. It's sad, and I'm bummed that we're not going to see Xavier Tillman get a senior year, although I think he probably did the right thing. I don't know. I mean, he's like the oldest 22-year-old or 21-year-old, whatever he is in the world. Like 2 kids, he showed up on campus with a kid, I think. And it's like, if I were him, I'd probably go to the NBA too. But so in wrapping, you're playing in Germany right now. I mean, not this second, obviously, but that's kind of where you're at in your career, right?
Yeah, as of now, I still don't know where I'll be for this coming season, but yeah.
Yeah, it's a beautiful country, I've heard, so we'll have to check you out over there if you end up back there. And I thank you for your time. It's been great having you. I think you are one of the best Spartan dogs of the Izzo era, a guy that just gave it all on the floor. I would put you and Kyle Ahrens kind of right up there as 2 of the biggest dogs that we had come through there. So as a Michigan State fan, and I think I can speak for everyone, Tara Stafford and all the other diehard Spartans on Twitter, thank you for all that you did for us. You gave it your all. You hung banners. You beat Michigan on the biggest stage possible. So thanks, and I appreciate everything you did for us.
Well, thanks for having me, man. I had a great time, and look forward to do these again with you.
This has been the Spiro Avenue Show. Thank you to Matt McQuaid, who joined us from East Lansing. You had a little bit of a commute here, so thank you for coming all the way to our little quaint studio in Rochester, Michigan. From East Lansing, it's good to have you home. Welcome back. Thanks for all that you did. We have our producer, Roberto, from home, who's putting this on. He's terrified of COVID or something. I don't know if he's like a germ freak or what his deal is, but he refuses to come in. I begged him. I said, we have a distinguished guest coming in with a lot of Twitter followers and a huge basketball following, and he refused. But he is pushing the buttons on his couch. Thank you to Roberto. Thank you to everyone for watching. We have a lot coming up in the next couple of weeks. The show's rolling. Appreciate you joining us wherever you are listening, wherever you are watching, whenever you catch us. Thank you for making us part of your day. Justin Spiro with Matt McQuaid, the Spiro Avenue Show. Thank you.